Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here. I would like to extend my welcome to all of you without naming anybody apart from Kai Konrad, of course. I would also like to welcome all the co-authors of Kai who are here. I will not be able to name them all. Actually, as a matter of fact, one of my sons found a Dire Straits CD a couple of days ago and said, old music, Mom, what is it all about? And when he listened to it, he said, "Boah, this is great music." So my estimation kind of increased a little bit. You know, 2 teenage boys at home is not very easy, but if you like your music, it's much better. It's a great honor for me to be here for at least 4 reasons. The first, the least important, I'm actually representing IIPF today, standing in for Jules Lemrod, the president who couldn't be here. And because the other vice president, Clemens Fust, has an even more important role today. The 3 other reasons have to do with the city of Munich. The first, it's a great honor to be named together with the name giver of this lecture, Richard Musgrave, who, I must admit, I did not know had German origin. He was actually educated in Munich and Heidelberg, which is actually coincidentally also the places Kai Konrad was educated. So, second reason to be honored is to be able to hold the Laudatio for Kai Konrad. Kai did his PhD and Venia Legendi in Munich under the supervision of, guess who, Hans-Werner Sinn. And after many years as a professor, even more awards and even more publications, he returned to Munich as a director of the Max Planck Institute for Tax Law and Public Finance in 2009. Last reason, of course, to be honored is to be back to the CES-IFO. As many European economists, an invitation by Hans-Werner Sinn some time ago, actually I must say, was a very important step of my own career. It's nice to be back. But please I don't want to give the impression that Munich is the reason Kai Konrad was elected. It's not that the nomination committee ran out of names and just looked across the road. The honor is highly deserved, as I will try to explain. Before summarizing Kai's work, let me start on a more personal note. My first encounter with Kai Konrad was about 20 years ago. It was my very first Tagung of the Freie für Sozialpolitik. And it was a bit of a shock, I must admit, for somebody who had started her career in maths and physics. What I remember was an assembly of chaired professors, behaving like stars, surrounded by their devoted planets, all male. My session on trade changed for the better. I don't remember exactly, it was either chaired by Kai or he discussed my paper. And I did not only get great comments, but also hope that things in the German-speaking world were about to change. And they have changed quite a bit. Also thanks to Hans-Werner Sinn, the host of the last few lectures, who not only jump-started the IFO, but also the Freie für Sozialpolitik. Kai Konrad was born in 1961. This was an exceptional year, not only because of his birth, not only because it's one of the greatest wine vintages in the Bordeaux region ever, but the year is actually nice. You can rotate it by 180 degrees and it's still 1961. I can show you. So, of course, that's not a coincidence. As versatile as his birth year is also Kai's research, which makes it a bit difficult for me to summarize it all. Actually, when I asked one of my research assistants to come up with the most interesting papers, she basically presented the entire list of Kai's academic papers, so another 10 pages. Just to get a first flavor of the type of work he did, a recent paper is entitled Affection, Speed Dating, and Heartbreaking. More actually in the light of recent developments, and especially the Panama Papers, are two papers I would like to mention. The one is Fighting Multiple Tax Havens in the Journal of International Economics. The basic idea, if you want to kill tax havens, you better kill them all, because if you kill them sequentially, the ones who will survive do even better than before. And of course, my favorite, resource extraction and the threat of possible expropriation, the role of Swiss bank accounts. It has changed a bit, I must say. So what can you say about Kai Konrad's research apart from just listing the publications? First, it's mainly about applied game theory. But it's always thoroughly grounded and checked against empirical observations, either in the lab or in the wild. We actually have both today. Kai has a distinct ability to come up with the simplest possible, yet most elegant way to formulate a problem and then to derive the conclusions. Its work just mirrors Richard Musgrave's The Theory of Public Finance, which was actually the first attempt to come up with a more formal approach to public finance. And like The Theory of Public Finance, Kai's research is done in a very readable and accessible way. Second, related to actually the game theory approach, Kai's research stresses the importance of strategic interactions in economic decision-making. Especially in public finance, what is at the core of what we think is economics all about is often frowned upon. Behavioral mistakes have sparked a huge literature analyzing anomalies and coming up with better alternatives. There is certainly evidence that policy is challenged by behavioral anomalies, but it's equally challenged by strategic behavior, or if you want, too much rationality. So if you don't save enough, it might either be because you underestimate your needs in the future, or it might be because you anticipate that the government is picking up the bill later on. So one of the papers that actually fit exactly in this line is Kai's paper, The Strategic Advantage of Being Poor. So if you pretend to be poor in the first period, you might avoid paying taxes later on. And after many years of empirical research, I'm pretty sure this is a very relevant approach. Third, Kai Konrad's research also goes beyond the traditional areas of economics. Today is a good example, of course. The effect of speed data on marriage formation is another one. Economists today are challenged from two sides. First, they're said to be too narrow, kind of dealing with with things that nobody's interested, has no policy relevance. But they're also said to be too broad. If they apply their methods outside the traditional areas of application, they are seen as intruders and imperialists. So again, that's what Kai is doing today. So having tried to just give you a broad overview of the methodological things, you would certainly like to see what are actually the fields. That's very difficult because he has publications in basically all areas of public finance and even beyond. I even tried to use Musgrave's theory of public finance as a guidance. So Musgrave has two branches, what he thinks are important: the problem of achieving full employment. The second is economic efficiency, and the third branch deals with issues of redistribution to achieve a politically acceptable distribution of income. Well, Kai's research mainly fits in the second and third, unless you think dating is an application of unemployment. But still, even with unemployment, there is an interesting paper in the Journal of Public Economics some years ago in which he shows that the limitations on working hours and the size of the welfare state are actually related, are interlinked. So the short working hours, or kind of the desire to have short working hours might be a consequence of too big a welfare state, or the other way around. So let me just mention a few of my favorite papers. One is on climate change, so yet another application. The climate policy negotiations with incomplete information. I'm not so sure they really listened to you in the Paris conference last year. Another one I really liked a lot, education, redistributive taxation, and confidence. The contents there is even high ability people or very confident people might prefer high taxes because they actually can actually convince the less confident peers not to acquire human skills. So they keep their human skills or the payoffs from the human skills for themselves, and which might have a little bit of a mean application. If you look at the political spectrum today, many of the socialists are actually not blue-collar workers, but well-paid intellectuals. And if you want to be mean, it's a measure to keep the poor, the less confident out if you keep taxes high. Tax compliance and tax havens are another area of research. Just to mention one, deception choice and self-selection, the importance of being earnest, which appeared in the Journal of Economic Behavior and Organizations. Kai and his co-authors convinced me that the perception of what you actually look like or what your peers are actually perceived has a role on how you declare your income. I tried to apply it to my own declaration, but then everything was actually documented, so I have no way not to declare my own income. Another one, signaling explanation for private charity, which actually, like other papers, appeared in the American Economic Review. You might not only give charitable giving to avoid taxes, or because it's good for you, because you might signal to the outside world that you're a rich and wealthy individual. About actions and contests, I really do know too little about. It's perhaps important to mention that Kai has acted as an editor of a special issue in economic theory 4 years ago. Kai has also done, as Clemens has already told us, about public choice, federalism, urban economics, and many, many more fields. A last one which got a lot of attention was not only the speed dating, but also another contribution in family economics and the marriage market. It was the geography of the family. Also appeared in the American Economic Review. What they did was they argued that there are strategic considerations of children in their location choices, with the outcome that the firstborn child locates further away than the secondborn to actually get the others to do more work caring about their parents. And I must say, as a firstborn child who moved furthest away from my parents, I felt a little bit guilty. A Laudatio is too short to really convey all the reasons why Kai Konrad is a worthy recipient of the honor. But I guess it's too long for the audience, so I better wrap up. Richard Musgrave, the donor, well, not the donor, the name giver of this lecture, was said to be an inspiring teacher. The same can be said about Kai Konrad. And like the godfather of this lecture, so to speak, Kai Konrad cares about both the analytic science in public finance and the practical implications of that analysis for improving public policy. In short, Kai Konrad is a role model for young public economists in Europe. He demonstrates that that rigor and relevance in research is not only done on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Monika. Now, this is the point in time where the prize certificate will be handed over to Kai, and I would like to join Monika and Kai to join me here. So I will read this to you, Kai. The Richard Musgrave Visiting Professorship is awarded jointly by the CES-IFO Group and the International Institute of Public Finance to Professor Kai Konrad, who will deliver the Richard Musgrave Lecture on Brothers in Arms, Theory and Experimental Evidence on Alliances. Kai, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Foto und dann noch ein I would now like to ask the musicians to join us. It's the string quartet of the Munich Philharmonic Orchestra. Welcome.